Let's jump right in. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to totally flip the script on how you look at your own home. Seriously, we're adopting a full-on teacher's mindset today. We're going to transform your everyday living space into a dynamic, natural classroom for early childhood development. We usually picture education happening at a rigid desk with heavy textbooks, right? But the absolute truth, the most profound learning, we're talking the real foundation of physics, science, and sociology, it all kicks off right there in your living room and kitchen. All right, here is our syllabus for today's Explainer. We'll be covering caregiver well-being, the natural classroom, kitchen science, meaningful boundaries, concrete communication, and lastly, resources and support. Let's get started.
Okay, Section 1, Caregiver Well-Being, the prerequisite for teaching.
Listen, before we can even think about teaching our kids, we absolutely have to get a handle on our own stressors. You're the ultimate role model in this natural classroom, right? If the teacher is stressed out, believe me, the whole classroom feels that tension. Whether it's the pressure of nonstop chores, hosting guests, or just literally not getting enough sleep, your well-being is the bedrock of your child's education. Sometimes all that intense parenting stress just physically takes a toll. Have you ever woken up, your brain is fully conscious, but you literally can't move? Or maybe you feel this heavy pressure on your chest. Well, when we're completely overwhelmed, it can actually manifest as sleep paralysis. A lot of folks panic and think, no way, something supernatural is going on. But knowing it's just a temporary physical disconnect, like your brain is awake but your body just hasn't gotten the memo yet, that really helps you relax. If it happens, just let your body go loose. Don't fight it. Just let it pass naturally. Managing our own physical and mental stress, that is step number 1.
Let's compare how we actually view our living spaces. We're constantly balancing this fear of having a messy, modernized home judged by visitors against the incredible opportunity for growth that comes with exposing a child to new people and environments. In a vibrant society, it's so common to stress over what guests will think of a cluttered kitchen counter or a messy room. Honestly, that anxiety can make families just want to hide away and isolate themselves. But when we do that, we are literally shutting the doors to our child's classroom.
Moving on to Section 2, the world as a classroom, building the people bank. Every single time you invite a guest over or visit relatives, you are massively expanding your child's worldview. They get to observe new behaviors, pick up different vocabulary, and figure out completely new social dynamics. And this perfectly illustrates building a people bank. Think about it. Interacting with relatives from different cities, or hearing these rich stories about agricultural fields, rural villages, or snowy regions provides them with natural data that a textbook just cannot match. When a kid listens to a family friend talk about, say, raising chickens or surviving a massive snowfall, they are soaking up vital sociological and geographic data. So next time you're feeling anxious about hosting, reframe it. You aren't just having guests over, you are literally bringing guest lecturers right into your kid's life.
Section 3, Kitchen Science and Physics.
All right, let's talk about the heart of the home, the kitchen. It's not just for cooking, it's genuinely a high-level science lab. This is where early years education absolutely shines. If we banish kids from the kitchen just because we're terrified of a little mess, we're totally depriving them of their very first scientific experiments. Take boiling an egg, for example. By safely watching that process, a toddler is unknowingly mastering the foundational physics concept of the states of matter. Think about what they're seeing. First, normal liquid water. Then you apply heat, and they see the boiling temperature and the bubbles. They watch the steam, which is gas, rise up into the air. And then the grand finale, a liquid egg turns completely solid. Years later, when a teacher is writing states of matter on a whiteboard, that kid isn't going to have to blindly memorize it. They'll just instantly recall their own kitchen laboratory. And it's not just eggs. Think about letting them mix oil and water in a cup to see density in action, or watching an ice cube melt into a puddle on the counter to understand temperature changes. It's all science.
Let's trace our environment through a typical day. From sorting laundry in the morning to exploring buoyancy in the evening, literally every chore is an academic milestone. Sorting light and dark clothes? Boom, foundational mathematics and set theory. Handing your kid a safe piece of dough to knead while you're making roti? That is an absolute masterclass in fine motor skill development and sensory play. Splashing around at bath time? Instant introduction to volume and buoyancy. You could even get them matching pairs of socks. That's pure pattern recognition. Or have them help water the indoor plants, which is basic biology and learning about ecosystems. The whole house is just alive with learning.
Section 4, Classroom Management, Setting Meaningful Boundaries.
Okay, obviously an active laboratory is gonna get messy. We absolutely want to encourage all this incredible exploration, but we still need to protect our homes and keep the kids safe.
So we have to differentiate between acceptable exploration, like playing with dough on a tray, and what I call red flag zones, like rubbing cooking oil all over your freshly painted clean walls. Look, it's totally natural for a kid to be impulsive. If they accidentally spill some sand or flour on the table, hey, that's a learning moment. But if they grab the oil bottle and decide to start painting your bedroom walls with it, yeah, that's a red flag zone. That is an area where we have to firmly lay down a boundary because, well, walls just aren't meant for oil paintings.
But here's the kicker. How we enforce that boundary is absolutely everything. If a child ruins a wall and you react with intense, explosive anger, you're really just teaching them fear and how to hide things from you. If you address it calmly but firmly, you preserve their self-esteem while still upholding the rules of the house. If you just scream, the kid simply learns, uh-oh, I gotta hide my mistakes so I don't get yelled at. They never actually learn why the action was wrong. On the flip side, though, don't just shower them with praise to keep them quiet, because that just breeds a people pleaser who only acts for external validation. We have to actively model emotional regulation. Show them that real tools have real purposes. The real dough is for making bread. The Play-Doh is for playing.
Which brings us to Section 5, Concrete Communication for Kids.
The crucial point here is how we actually speak to them when we're setting these boundaries. How do we explain the rules of our household lab? Listen, children do not understand abstract concepts like play gently or be careful. We have to give them highly specific, concrete reasons for our instructions so they actually grasp the consequences of their actions. If you just shout, "Go play nicely," a kid has literally no mental picture of what you want. To them, throwing blocks halfway across the room is playing nicely. Instead, try using very physical, concrete vocabulary. Say something like, "Please keep your blocks on the rook, because if they hit this hot cup of tea, the tea is going to spill, it'll burn me, and ruin the notes I just spent an hour writing." Boom. Now you've given them a crystal clear, logical sequence of cause and effect.
And that brings us to a super profound shift in perspective. When a child acts out, or makes a grumpy face, or seems super defiant, they aren't inherently arrogant. They really aren't. They simply lack the vocabulary to express these massive, overwhelming feelings. They are communicating in literally the only language they have right now. If a kid is standing against the wall with their arms crossed, refusing to move, it's not arrogance, it's resistance. And resistance is just a language we haven't learned to translate yet. We need to help them reflect on their actions rather than just punishing the surface-level symptom. So I really want you to ask yourself this question. Are we teaching our children to actually think critically, or are we just teaching them to fear our reactions? Because the goal here is to raise kids who choose to do the right thing because they genuinely understand the impact of what they do. Because they know that ruining a wall means hours of scrubbing and repainting, not just because they are absolutely terrified of us being disappointed in them. That is what true education looks like. That is how you build character.
And finally, Section 6, Resources and Support.
Remember, this journey, transforming from an anxious caregiver into a mindful, at-home educator, it is completely ongoing, and you definitely do not have to navigate this transition alone. Building this natural classroom takes so much patience, and it's totally okay to seek guidance to optimize both your home environment and your own mental health. Actually, if you are struggling with any kind of personal, life, mental, psychological problems, or issues related to your children or marital life, please, you can contact the details on screen. Do visit sobianareen.com for details, or reach out for detailed learning via email at educationbysobia@gmail.com, or you can call 0092 0320 563 6775. Just a quick short note before we wrap up. This is an AI-made explainer, so some words or sentences may differ slightly from the original source sentences and ideas, but the core message is right on the money. You can leave your comments and questions down below, and if you really connected with this, please share and subscribe. You can find many other useful explainers on a huge variety of topics on the channel. So, how are you going to turn your next household chore into a science experiment? Look around. School is officially in session. Keep exploring, and I'll catch you next time.